Welcome in. It's the NBA Strategy No House Advantage show. So for the next half hour, myself, Terry, the first time that I get to see Terry in a long time. So I'm thrilled to not only be here with NHA and you out there, but the two of us with you building a winning ticket, of course, on NHA for the next half or so. Tyler's in the house producing. And of course, we have codes amongst codes for you to take advantage of everything that we have here, specifically, of course, with No House Advantage. We'll tell you about everything there. But Terry, my friend, I feel like it's been years since you and I have sat down and done a show. Always a pleasure.
That's it, man. I'm seeing you all over the place, hosting shows of all different sports and everything, talking to everybody. And like, I'm stuck in this relegated to the weekend shifts and all these odd hour shifts and everything lately. But yeah, you've been killing it, man. It's great to be back on a show with you. I'm looking forward to doing a few of these with you through the season. It should be a lot of fun.
Absolutely. And you and I were doing a lot of baseball, but we did do a bunch of NBA stuff as well. And beyond, of course, what is no longer a rivalry because half of my team isn't even on the floor anymore, the Knicks Sixers stuff that we were always able to get to. I am excited because with No House Advantage, there is a much easier pathway, clearly, for success than building a big DFS tournament type roster on the slate. So tonight, specifically, we only have 3 games, and technically it's 2.5 games because so many people are out for Philadelphia. How do you approach, and it's not just a general, okay, the DFS slate, the 3 games, but specifically when you're looking for the 10, the 9, the 8, the top point producers when we're building this 10 play ticket tonight on NHA. In the NBA specifically, Terry, how do you look for guys like that when we're talking about the top type point getters?
So, I mean, we're basically for NHA, for sites like this, and when we're making any kind of prop bet, really, and NHA is a prop bet driven site, what we want to be looking for is our probabilities. What's our probability that we're going to come in over or under this line? And then I'm just going by those basically. And I project these things out myself, but I'm using the sites tools really because I trust Alex's projections a little bit more than I trust my own. And he's giving us the probabilities based on his own projections. So we know we've got industry leading projections just in terms of accuracy. And then he's giving us the probability that those projections do hit in accordance with getting over or under the line. So like I'm looking at, the top one on the board, if I sort by over in general, the 97.4% probability of hitting is Andre Drummond getting over 12.5 rebounds. Adam and Josh were talking about that on the DFS strategy show this morning. And I think Adam said he had to lower his minutes projection to like 24 or 26 minutes for Andre Drummond to come even in at 12.5 rebounds. He's most likely going to be in like the 18 range. Alex has him projected at 18.4. You can see how clearly that's going to go toward the over. So I'm looking like for bets like that, and I just want to immediately book that into my 10 spot. That's an automatic for me. That's a no-brainer. And then as you go down through the card, I think it just makes sense to kind of hew as closely as you can to some of these probabilities and just make a couple specific changes within a similar tier of probability if you want to get a little different from somebody else's lineup. So I think
Drummond. I'm sorry, man. I'm with you. Last night in the 20s, it was 12.5, the same prop, the same player prop on the books. I remember I was doing the show Monday on the odds channel with Ben, and somebody brought up go over the Drummond rebound total at the end of the show in the chat, and we looked at it. It was 12.5, and I'm just amazed that it's still such a low number when clearly, like, there's not even an anomaly or two. I understand that, 10, 11 games played, so it's not a ton of basketball, but clearly, especially with no Joel Embiid, Andre Drummond, 12.5 seems like a first half projection as opposed to a full game.
It really, I mean, it is. The guy doubled the projection last night. He had 25 rebounds last night, and they didn't change it. That's bananas. So just looking at it, in 19.7 minutes per game, less than 20 minutes a game, his rebounding average for the season is already 10.2. So to your point, it's very much like a first half total. It's crazy that it's that low. So that's an absolute lock of a spot for me. 26.1% rebounding rate on the season. I mean, we're expecting him to get. I think Alex had him at 32 minutes the last I saw. If he's anywhere close to that, he played 38 last night to get to those 25 rebounds. If he's getting 32 minutes, we can reasonably expect that 18 rebound projection to be right on. So I think it's an easy no-brainer for him to get over 12.5. That's a lock.
So I'm looking at Simons, and I bring him up specifically. First off, there are a ton of props that you can play for someone like Anthony Simons specifically: points, rebounds, assists, three-pointers, points and rebounds, points and assists, PRA. And as you reference here, this is our Bible that we'll be looking at throughout this show and others down the line in the NBA. When we talk NHA, we have Alex's projections right here to go from. But one of the advantages, and this is what I've always loved dating back to last year when I was first introduced to NHA, is you get a lot of props that are just not going to be available at the book, where the depth, I mean, think of that. There are 7 different props that we can play with Anthony Simons combined with Alex and the projections that we have on site. I'm lucky, Terry, honestly, to get points on a book, straight up legal book with Anthony Simons. That's a huge difference.
Yeah, for sure. And it's great because they don't change through the day. So like if you get them early in the morning and then you get crazy news that breaks, these are going to be here for you to exploit. So it's a really fun site to play on and from that regard, just because you can kind of lock into some of these key plays that don't swing through the day based on news. You don't have things coming off the board based on news. I mean, if somebody's not playing, don't bet they're under because that doesn't count. But otherwise, like if somebody's not playing and his teammates' numbers are greatly affected because he's going to be on the court for twice the amount that he normally would have been, and his rates and everything go up, it just makes sense to go directly toward those plays because they're going to be available to you when they come out of sports books. They'll still be here on NHA. So it's a lot of fun, and it's an easy way to book the first few choices in your lineup from night to night. You get that situation pretty much every day on the site. So it's fantastic. And now, just looking at Simons, I think his points plus rebounds plus assists number seems pretty sharp as well. That's the second one overall on our board by sorting by the over. They've got him at 9.5 points plus rebounds plus assists. Alex has that number at 17.09. So Alex has him nearly doubling that line, coming in at a 97% probability of hitting that over. That's, if you're just sorting by the overs on this one, you've got a lot to choose from on this slate. There's a lot of inefficient lines on this slate. So looking at a lot of the overs here for filling out our card.
When do you start? And tonight, I think, is a great example where we have 3 games. A bunch of guys are banged up. Really, guys are getting somewhat healthy, and Drew Holiday's back, but no Brook Lopez, no Chris Middleton, no everybody really except Seth Curry and Furkan Korkmaz for the Sixers. But we still have 8 on each. I was counting them as you were laying that last point out, Terry. We've got 8 on the over, 8 on the under that are at least 90% or higher. So theoretically, you could just go, over, under, and just swap around and see from 100 down. But I'm also curious how you start the discernment process. We've got only 10 plays, but legit 16 opportunities to go over, or at least 90% or over on these props. And that combines both the under and over. And some of them are PRAs where you have a little bit more flexibility, especially if you're going over those numbers. But tonight is a really cool example of it because we only have the super short slate, but think about 16 different pathways now to at least 90+ percentile of these props hitting.
Yeah, so they have multi-entry on the site. So, I mean, you can start mixing and matching those in different order of priority. And it makes sense to, change them around a little bit because you are playing some peer-to-peer here. So you're playing against some other people, so you don't want to have the exact same card as they do. So if you're moving some pieces around while also focusing on just kind of a rotation of those 90+, 85+ picks, and just start plugging and playing them in different orders as you build out a slate full of lineups, it's a strong approach, and it's a great tool. We also have an optimal lineups page. It looks like we haven't updated it yet for the day, but I'm sure before lock that'll get updated, where we're giving you, last time I checked it, we're giving you like 20 pages with like 20 lineups each, where we're just providing the direct optimal lineups on these things based on Alex's projections, based on our probabilities. So you can honestly just see that all laid out for you. And a really easy way to just immediately get different is like if everybody's sitting here just taking the first 20 off the first page and kind of rolling with it, well, jump to the second page and start from there. You're not sacrificing that much optimal. Go back, grab a few plays, make sure you're accounting for some of the 10 pointers from the first page. But that's just an easy way to kind of start building lineups when this thing's updated is just to work from here. We're kind of giving you the keys to the kingdom for NHA, guys. So it's a pretty easy approach to this site.
That's amazing. So this is all one night on the optimal lineups page that we have, and this is free for you on Awesemo.com. And beyond that, we're also going to match your first deposit on No House Advantage. So think of this. We're going to give you free tools to use on our site and then match your first deposit up to $25. That 20 pager that you referenced is all from one night, or is that just
That's all. Yeah, that's all one night. Now tonight's with only 3 games might be shorter.
Far less.
This
Sure.
This is probably 2 days ago or a day ago. But you can see we just give you a ton of available lineups where we're just literally providing the lineups because there's no restriction on this on this site. So it's not like DK or FanDuel where, and it's my preferred approach to do it the other way, is we teach you how to build on those sites, right? We teach you what the important things are. Here, we are literally providing you with optimal lineups and saying, hey, guys, these are going to be the best plays. Play these. Doesn't get much easier than that, particularly when we're doing match deposits and all of these things. So,
absolutely.
Yeah, with the tools on the site, this is a strongly to your advantage to play on NHA.
This is the easiest it gets, I think, across the board on our site, right? As far as winning money, and you're right. Like we lead horses to water by all means. Sometimes we may even give a little bit of a splash, like, "Hey, this is what it takes." But we're essentially just forcing it, right? Just like drink this. Here, it's amazing. All right, so let's continue. I wanted to go back because Bobby Portis is super high on our over projections, and we know that there's going to be minutes back from his time out with the injury, so he reinserted into the starting lineup, especially now. No Middleton, no Lopez, so there is going to be some sort of productivity, we think, going to him, and we're super high on both his rebounds and his points and rebounds. I mean, those are two right there in that middle 90 percentile, Terry.
Yeah, absolutely. Alex has him projected for 15.6 points purely, and the points plus rebounds is 14.5. So just based on points, he's already over the points plus rebounds there. So that's a pretty good one, I think. We've got him projected for 8.56 rebounds, which is over the 5.5. Either one of those is pretty strong, and his points alone is pretty strong at 88.8%. But the other two are in the 90s, so I think that makes a ton of sense. We saw, like you said, Portis reinserted into the starting lineup, and with pieces missing, critical pieces for that team tonight, he's going to have to get a lot of run. He saw 31 minutes last night, averaging 25.7 over the last 3. I think there's definitely a path for him to see more than 30 minutes and skyrocket past these numbers. We've all seen Bobby Portis put up those crazy Portis nights. There's a reason that everybody in Milwaukee fell in love with him. There's a reason I kind of wish my Knicks had held on to him. Nice little role player, but hey, it is what it is. But yeah, I like both of those for Portis. I think if I'm making one, I probably take the points plus rebounds, just because I feel like more people would go to the one or the other category, the points or the rebounds. So I like taking the combined one where maybe people aren't thinking about it quite as much.
I love the maxi prop that's right below that. And again, this is at 91.5%. In fact, we have a couple of maxis that are super high. Even the lowest maxi prop that we have is the rebounds going over at an 80.7% clip. So, and that's the lowest all the way up to 91.5. And that one is the PRA. Not going to be a lot of assists. That's just how he is, but nobody else around him at that spot. Shake Milton is definitely not vulturing away rebounds or points for that matter. Maxey could be out. He's young too, right? So they just played 7 guys 20 plus minutes last night. He's the young guy on the crew. This kid could be out there 40 minutes tonight. So I love it. And look at the difference in projections we have too.
Yeah, and he's got an easy path to around 40 minutes again. 39 last time out, 44 and 45 the 2 games before that, so averaging 42.7 minutes over the last 3. Just bonkers amount of run for him, but they need him right now with going to be running like an 8-man rotation out there tonight. It's another one where we've got him on the points line alone. It's an 11.5 point projection line. We've got him at 16.45. So he's already beating that one pretty cleanly at 83%. But then if you look all the way up the board to the PRA line that you mentioned, that's at 17.5. If he's got a 16.45 point total and a 17.5 PRA line, you can see a pretty clear path for him to beat that one. So we've got that at 91.57%. I think that makes a clear-cut one to put in there in a high point projection spot in your NHA card as well. Because you're getting, again, it's one where I just feel like a lot of people will go to, all right, I'm going to pick an individual stat. If I'm going to combine stats, I'm going to pick 2, and not necessarily thinking through that it's all relative to the production, right? It's not like you're asking him to do more here if you pick the 3 stat pick here. So that's actually the most likely one to go with, and I think it's the one that people will pick less often. So I really like going to those.
if you've noticed, we haven't hit names like Paul George, Trae Young, Giannis, because for the majority of what we do here with NHA specifically and using our projections, what I've noticed is, and I think it's more often than not, these are the sharper numbers. These are the ones in which you're going to get a very tighter window for Giannis PRA or Trae Young threes. Paul George threes I saw was actually a little bit of a gap, and I feel like that's more of an anomaly than not. And it just kind of speaks to the general approach, I think, of No House Advantage and how you can take advantage of Larry Nance Jr. props or Justice Winslow props, as opposed to what will be, no matter if it's NHA or the books, Terry, as you know, there's going to be really sharp props the bigger the name is that you're betting on.
Yeah, for sure. When you're getting these star players and you're getting them in their usual roles, their usual consistent minutes and all of that, it's going to be a sharp line. It's going to be a more efficient number. Looking at Paul George, I just sorted to him. We do have some in the 80s, though, that are playable. And the one that you mentioned is definitely the strongest out of them, is the three-pointers made. We've got that coming in 88.5% of the time. Alex has it projected at 4.07 threes made, and the line is only 2.5. So that's a pretty good one. I kind of like that. I don't have let me see if I can get to it quickly, what he's doing for the season. Yeah, do that. Let me sort over here. I'll just take a look at his season-long numbers. I don't have it on the same tab.
No, that's fine.
But I think I can get to it.
Right. Looking at that, definitely. And I'm, while you do that, I'm looking at what the books have him for as well, because I wouldn't be surprised if we have him projected at 4. The books have caught up and you're looking at a 3.5. Now,
yeah, so,
go ahead.
Yeah, so for this, sorry. So yeah, for the season, he's taking 9 per game. He's making 35.8 of them. That's 3.2 per game. So just based on his per game averages, we're already over that spot. And it's just a guy that we're projecting to have to do a lot once again in that Clippers offense. I think it's a pretty easy one for him to go over, and 88 makes a hell of a nice play there. Maybe that's one that you book into a little bit lower, like the middle of your card, maybe the back end of the card, but that's a pretty strong safety net to put at the back end of a card.
The difference here in PA, the books have it at 3.5. So you're getting a full 3 difference at no. Yeah. Exactly. And you're right, because of I've noticed that too. I've noticed that. All right, I go to No House Advantage. I go to our projections. There's a window. There's a gap. It's a 6 or 7 point gap. And there's a 95% chance of it clearing. I'm thinking, bang, let me go there. And then I go check the books and see, all right, well, what do the books have? Maybe there's some maneuverability there. Nope. It's sharp and it's tight. It's almost like they're following along on our own projections as well. So let's keep it moving here. And I'm curious just to hit a couple of unders. Before that, though, I'm surprised at a number here. And I was just sorting because I was going down, waiting for a 75, maybe 70% chance of this overhitting, thinking something in that realm. Very surprised, Terry, to see not only our projections lower than the prop for Seth Curry's points tonight, but that it's got a 42% chance of going over just 16.5 points. Now, he didn't play great last night, but nothing's changed. Now, the only thing that's changed, I guess, is that he's questionable coming in tonight. But again, his props are up there, so I'm assuming he's playing and assuming he's healthy. I was surprised. It felt a little reactionary. Even our projections felt, and who am I to go against Alex? I get that. But this just feels like an easy pathway to 42 minutes for Seth Curry again tonight, assuming, he's playing through that Q tag. I just don't know how he goes 2 straight nights. He's streaky, but I don't know how he goes 2 straight nights not hitting that 17 number. With everybody else out is the caveat.
Yeah, so it looks like Alex has him projected at 29.7 minutes, at least of the last time I updated here, which I think is what's carving that projection down below that line a little bit. If we project him out to the 33, 34 minute range, which I think is totally viable, he's averaging 37 over his last 3, played 41 last time out, 33, 37 before that, 34 and 34 the 2 games before those. So around a 35-minute average over his last 5. If we're expecting that kind of a run, I think he blows through that points line. Guy's shooting 72, true shooting percentage, 72.1% on the season, 18% usage. He's a monster shooter. So if that shot falls a couple times, I mean, just think about that line. It's only a couple of threes and then some other buckets for him. It's not a very big point line for Seth Curry to crack on a good night. So I think given the run, I think he gets there. It's just a conservative minutes projection that's impacting that one right now. So that's one I would actually circle back to later in the day. Maybe we get a little bit more firm news on an overall minutes expectation for Curry, and we know a little bit about what's going to be going on in that Sixers rotation in general at that point. You might see this trickle back up into the 60% range.
Nice to see Aaron here on the chat, Terry, saying he just signed up for the app. And I understand people, whenever it's new to somebody, there are questions kind of going through it. And I'll never say, well, it's as easy as it gets, because if anything's dumbed down and streamlined, it's usually for somebody like me. So I'm not going to give anybody the benefit of the doubt. If you have any questions, Aaron, and anybody else for that matter, new to NHA, trying to figure out what does the 10, what does that 6 mean, we're here for you. Terry has a bunch of insight on how you can, as you see it here, marry our own projections with NHA and use everything to your advantage and really win some money, as easy as that sounds, I will say. All right, let's hit a couple of unders just to see, again, where we have projections. It's hard to stay away from a triple digit. I mean, we've essentially told the public tonight, Terry, and you are here. You are our analyst for the NHA NBA show, so this is on you. Justice Winslow has a 100% chance of going under his PRA on NHA.
Is he not playing? It's 100% is aggressive for anything. We've got him at a 4.2 minute projection as of my last update, it looks like.
So that's closer to not playing. You're right.
That's pretty close to not playing. Might not get off the bench. Might be a coach's decision DNP. But yeah, Alex has him at a 2.63 combined PRA there. 7.5 is the line. So certainly seems like he's going to be under that. Looking at the minutes, 4.7 minutes a game over the last 3. Before that, an 8-minute game and a 3-minute game. So yeah, not much meat on the bone there for Justice Winslow. I even if it's not 100%, I think you're pretty strong in aggressively playing that one up at the top end of a card.
Right. And again, you'd be hard pressed to find many Winslow props out there on the book with the expectation of him playing under 5 minutes. Meanwhile, on NHA, you've got one beautifully set right there for you. Nance, there are two that are pretty similar. There's a little bit of a gap, I guess. I misread. I thought they were both at 99. 99 for the PRA, points and assists as well there. And then we have Wright. Winslow is back in there as well. The one name, though, before we get to a Jordan Clarkson, the one name that is interesting is Drew Holiday, how aggressive we have under his projection. Now, the line is at 7.5 assists. We know that he's come back. He's played the last 2 after missing time with the injury, but we only have him on site projected at 5.1 assists. And I wonder, Terry, if there still isn't a full expectation of minutes back for Drew, and maybe that's cutting into the projection.
So it actually looks like we've got him at 31. He's gone 30. He went 30 the last time out, 20 the game before that. So it's 2 games back, 25-minute average. So we've got him at 31. Let's see, we've got him projected at 5.11 assists. The line is 7.5. He is averaging just 3.3 on the season, only a 20% assist share. So maybe it's a reasonable line. But you know, that's only in 23.3 minutes. So if we get him 30 plus minutes, I still feel like that under is pretty strong. I think Alex's projection, maybe it's a little bit short, but it's not very short at 5.5. So, or 5.11, you know, maybe it comes in more around 5.5, but 7.5 on a line is pretty aggressive, especially given that we don't know that he's going to play 30 minutes. It certainly could be possible that he gets a 28-minute night. Maybe they go out there and they just light up the Philadelphia backups and you know, have an easy kind of a night. So I don't love getting to the over. I think the line on the under there is pretty strong. So we've got it at 93.5% probable. Again, even if it's a little less than that, even if you want to say, yeah, he's got a better shot than that, maybe he gets 6 assists, you're still talking about an 80-something% probability there probably. So yeah, I like that one. I think it makes some sense.
Is there a one here, and maybe it's with a bigger name? It's not necessarily somebody close there at the top with Wright, Winslow, or even to a lesser, or in this case, greater extent, a Nance in here. Is there a name, a prop that jumped out? Like, for example, Danny Green's PRA. I can't even believe that his line is that high at 16.5. I mean, I know that they electrified his corpse last night to get him out there and hit a couple of shots, but that's not sustainable. Is there a name that you are kind of surprised? And I'm always curious from an under standpoint, because over, it's a bonus. Like, oh, okay, great, even better. But from an under standpoint, is there anybody, and we can go down to the mid 80s to even high 70s, which are playable numbers for me, that you're surprised that we have A in the under category and B that the projection would be so low?
So one way that I do like to look at these things for NHA and for props and everything is to explore for guys that are coming up a lot in DFS conversations, but maybe they're coming in toward the under in their prop bets here. So a guy that sticks out like that for me on this one is Bogdan Bogdanovic.
Yeah.
He's coming in with strong under marks. They're all in the low 80s, but I mean, in terms of the under, those are pretty strong numbers. And I think you can get aggressive about it because he's coming in a lot of lineups in terms of what we're doing on some of the DFS sites, because he's at a $4,800 price on FanDuel. He's at a cheap price on DraftKings as well. So he projects out pretty well as a strong value play on those sites. So he's a guy that people might just be thinking in terms of, oh, wow, that means he's going to have a good day. That means I want to book the over. And people don't have the advantage of having Alex's projections and having our probabilities at their fingertips, won't see that he's got, if you look at his PRA, for example, at 22.5, we've got him projected at 18.6. That gives him an 81.73% probability of going under. That's a pretty strong one. And that's one that I think a lot of people won't really be looking to. So it's a way that you can kind of make your card a little bit more unique, maybe make a different decision than a lot of people are making while still making a strong play. And a lot of times when you make that change, when you decide, all right, I'm going to make a play that not a lot of people are making, it takes you off the beaten path of some of these stronger plays. When you get the advantage of being able to make a strong play while getting different, I think it makes sense in most of our formats here.
Easiest thing to do is go to our site, awesemo.com. As you know, use the free projections that we have for No House Advantage. The optimal lineup page, as Terry broke down, we are giving you the lineups to play. We are telling you what to do. Just plug and play, and you're in good shape. And from there, you can use our promo code, of course, Awesemo. When you sign up, No House Advantage will match your first deposit up to $25. I will say, though, real quick on the way out, I just want to make sure it's known, because I saw Tyler is building our slip here. Alex and Awesemo are not suggesting by any means that you take the over for Seth Curry. That's me driving off the road on my own right now. I just want to, because I don't want, Aaron or somebody else next show. Y'all told me to take Seth Curry, scored 10 points. I don't know. I am the one on the hook for Seth. All right. Not Terry, not Alex, not Tyler, nobody else. All right. I just wanted that out there, Terry.
You heard it here first, everybody. 50 raw points from Seth Curry tonight. 50-point game tonight. No problem.
My bet slips would take it. I'm going to play him on NHA, and I'll send you the screen cap on Twitter at DigitalB21. How about that?
I love it. I encourage it. And I honestly do think that was a decent call by you. I think that's one that'll creep up as we get toward lock and that minutes projection comes up a little bit. So I don't hate that call. I'm with you.
And look, I'm not one to pat my own back if it goes. I won't even bring it up next time. I promise. I've forgotten 10 times over. My friend, it's always a pleasure. We'll be back next week. Thanks to Tyler for producing. Thanks to No House Advantage. Take advantage of that promo code. Awesemo, $25 match. It's insane. Aaron and others, we appreciate you big time as far as hanging with us, and we'll see you next week. Have a great week.